Okay guys, glad to be here, glad to speak up. I think this sums up much who I am, my passion for food. Short. Okay, my name is Vanand Meliksetian. I'm 26 years old. I was born in Armenia and I've been living in Holland for 22 years now. I studied political science and law in Leiden and a master's degree here in Amsterdam, law and politics of international security. My parents were born in Iran. My dad is from Tehran and my mother is from Isfahan region. I'm telling you this because it's important for my cultural self-image. Because I've been living so long in Holland, I can define myself both Armenian and European, Dutch. And I've also added these two because this says something about my other passions, food and literature. And my cultural self-image is a business card of who I am, my identity. What is identity? Identity says something about where you're from, where your parents are from, what you've been through, what your experiences maybe are. But most of all, it says to you who I am. And this is a topic I'm going to talk to you today, identity. With each encounter and each thought, the notion of identity changes. Therefore, always seize the opportunity and decide who your best self is. I will come back on this word later on, the word best, because of course it's subjective and for everybody it's different. And now I would want to do a small test with you. Work with me because we have not so much time. I will show you 4 pictures and I'll ask you if you know these people. Starting from the first picture, who knows who this is? Put up your hand. I already thought so. This is one of the most famous Iranian singers. His name is Vigen Derderian. This man was the Elvis Presley in the 60s and 70s in Iran. He introduced guitar music, Spanish and Italian music in the Persian music. Of course, he sang in Farsi. Who knows who this is? More people. Serj Tankian, who was in System of a Down. He was born in Beirut, but he grew up in the US. Who knows who this is? Of course, this is Aram Astaryan. He's one of the most famous Armenian singers. I can't say one of the most famous Armenian singers. For those who are not Dutch, he's a combination of Frans Bauer and André Hazes. Am I correct, guys? Okay? Okay. Don't answer the question. And I presume everybody knows who this is. Okay. These 4 men, except for Aram Astaryan because he lived in an environment, most of them Armenians, but the other 3 men were born and raised in countries with an ethnically and culturally other dominant culture than the Armenian one. But still, they were very successful in what they did, in the sort of music which they made, and in a different language they used, Persian, French, and English, of course, and Armenian for Aram Astaryan. These 4 men have one thing in common, except for their gender, which is male, and their artists. They're musicians and they have a successful career in their identity, which is Armenian. They excelled in what they were doing. What is identity? What were those men good at? Their norms and values. They had certain specific rules on which their parents raised them. Maybe what they wore, but it's not definitive, of course. What they were thinking, their family history. We know of Shah al-Sabur, his parents were genocide survivors, and Serj Tankian's parents were also, well, grandparents were genocide survivors. Their language. They spoke Armenian, well, somewhat Armenian, but they excelled in a different language, but still they were Armenian. Also other cultures, but most of them Armenian. But what makes an identity what it is? It's about perception, it's about choice. Who do you hang out with? Who are your friends? Where do you go to? Which language do you use? But it's also chance. Maybe you have some friends who introduce you in a certain environment. You grew up in an environment maybe which is not Armenian, which is a different culture, but still it defines you who you are. But it says something also about comfort. Where do you feel comfortable with? Maybe somebody who understands you better than other people do. It can work in a positive way, and it can work in a negative way. And all of us act all the time in a certain way of creating an identity, creating a sense of reality. Our parents are very important because at the start of our lives, they're the ones who educate us. When we grow up, we meet friends, we get introduced in different environments, and those interactions create who you are. These thoughts and experiences. as if you're creating your identity with small Lego blocks. With each encounter and each thought and each idea, you create yourselves. With this speech of 9 minutes, you're getting some feedback from me, which will create your identity, which you wouldn't have get, which you wouldn't have received, which you weren't here. But it doesn't only happen individually, it also happens collectively. We work together all the time. We work with these people in this room together, we're in the city and the country, but also continentally wise. We can say that Japanese and Chinese and Koreans, for example, understand their culture much better than, for example, European culture. And these small variations change all the time. It is very, these constructions are very fragile, and with each encounter they change. This is based on a notion which we call the evolutionary survival instinct. Imagine these two cavemen coming to each other within a few thousand years ago. You don't know what they want from you if you don't know them. Do they want to steal your food, for example? Do they want to kill you and eat you? Should you therefore kill them and eat them first? Because we are born with a natural tendency to see people different from us as bad. What does that mean? If you know somebody, you know that person, what is capable of, what they want to do, what don't want to do. If you know them, they're predictable. If they're predictable, they're normal. And if they're normal, they tend to be good. And also the other way around. If somebody's unknown to you, you don't know what they're capable of. Are they aggressive? Are they friendly? You always tend to attract people who are more similar to you. But this is not something which doesn't change. It changes all the time. The metaphor which we can use for identity is a sand dune. If you take a picture of a sand dune and you come back a few months later and take exactly the same picture at exactly the same spot, the sand dune will have moved. With each blow of the wind, it moves a little bit. It changes. So does identity. It changes all the time. And because we know it changes, we can steer it. We can decide where we want to go with our identity choices, if you can call it like that. The four men, except for Vanand Meliksetian, of course, because it was dominantly Armenian environment, but other three men, they made choices in life. They were Armenian, but they were more than that. They chose certain aspects of their education and of their environment, their talents, their skills they had, into creating something better, something successful, something in which some of them were very successful, as Vigen shows you. Ask any Iranian, by the way, they will know it. These people created something for themselves in becoming successful. And this circular method shows you that what these men did was not leave behind them, they did not leave behind them their history, their family history, what they've been through, or their culture, or their language maybe. It's not a circular thing they did. It's not about crossing borders, crossing one border and leaving behind the rest of you. It's about extending borders. Choosing all the interesting and good parts of yourself into making something which is more successful, which is much better. And for everybody it's different. For some it is in the arts, for the rest, maybe for someone else it's in academics or in business. But you choose all these certain aspects of yourself in becoming what is your best version of yourself. Who do you want to become? Create that person with making the choices which are available to all of us in our environment. Thank you.